As you may or may not know, my wife and I just got back from Vegas. It was a great trip. We ate, we drank, we had a blast. But then we got home and looked at the credit card, and I gotta say, it doesn't matter how much fun you're having, $25 for a drink is a ripoff. Frickin' Vegas. I hate getting ripped off, and so do the lads over at Harry's. They spent years watching the razor blade companies rip people off and said, no more. Not all heroes wear capes, my friends, and they want to prove that they're legit by offering you hot dogs a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. I've been telling you about them for months, and I'm genuinely proud to have Harry's as a sponsor of this show. I wasn't kidding. The plastic, futuristic-looking crap razors you get at the store are overpriced and they're poor quality. Harry's blades are crisp, clean, and classy. They're the kind of razor you'd expect your grandpa to have on his bathroom counter. And most importantly, they work. Shave after shave, they're so smooth, they're precise. I used to go through the crappy store blades all the time, but Harry's are built to last. And they're not just better quality than the other names, they're more affordable. And they deliver. Just set your schedule, and for as little as $2, new blades, shaving creams, lotions, everything you need, right to your door when you need it. I genuinely cannot think of a reason not to try Harry's. And I'm not just saying this because they're sponsors. They're the best shaving supplies I've ever used. Try them out, and if you're not happy, your shave's on them. And unlike the other subscriptions, they're really easy to cancel if you want to too, which is a nice bonus, but believe me, you're not going to want to cancel. Getting ripped off isn't funny. Switch to Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/RTG. That's harrys.com/RTG for a $3 trial set. Remember the Game is brought to you by my website, abcomedy.net. As you may or may not know, I'm a comedian by night. And as much as I love talking about old video games, telling jokes is how I actually pay my bills. So please check out my website. In addition to old episodes of this podcast, you'll find my blog, videos of my stand-up, all of my upcoming shows, and my contact information. If you need a comedian for your next fundraiser, corporate event, house party, whatever you got going on, hit me up. Again, it's abcomedy.net. And if you're enjoying the podcast, please subscribe to it. Please leave us a good review. And most importantly, please tell a friend. I'd really appreciate it. There'll be a new episode every single Wednesday. Thank you guys so much for the support. I hope you enjoy the show. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Remember the Game, my retro gaming podcast, where every single week a buddy of mine and I sit down and geek out about a game from back in the day. My name is Adam Blank. Thank you so much for listening. If it's your first episode, welcome to the club. If you're a returning listener, thanks for hanging around. This week, a very special episode, episode 42. We're talking Donkey Kong Country for the SNES. This, and I know I say this every week. I even wrote it in my notes to make sure I point out that I know I say every week. I'm excited about this game. I'm pumped for this episode. I am, like, this is in my top 10 favorite games of all time and probably in my top 5. For anyone that's listened to this podcast with any kind of regularity at all, you probably know the Super Nintendo is my favorite console of all time. Platformers are my favorite genre. Super Mario World is my favorite game. But for my money, Donkey Kong Country is if Super Mario World is a 10, Donkey Kong Country is a 9.9. It is fucking right there. And I love it. I'm so excited to talk about it this week. So I don't even have a lot of other stuff to talk about in the intro. I just want to talk about Donkey Kong Country, which I already do, with the newcomer to the show, a very good friend of mine, fellow comedian, sports junkie, and Donkey Kong Country lover, Mr. Henry Sir. Is my guest this week. So he has just quickly, I don't often do this, but Henry has a new comedy album coming out right away on social media and stuff like that. Just keep an eye out for it. It's called Chalant, very classy. He's a great guy. He's very funny, so you can find it on iTunes and stuff like that when it comes out. It's not out as when this podcast drops, but I think it's coming right away, so just keep an eye out for it. And Henry, thanks for doing the podcast, buddy. Just quickly, you guys, you already know all this because I say it every single week. Give us a follow. on social media. We'd really appreciate it. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. The handle is @memberthegame, just like remember, but without the RE at the front. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/rememberthegame. And I think that I'm going to be putting these podcasts on Twitch right away. Someone pointed it out to me at one of the comedy clubs, one of the guys that works in one of the clubs I work at all the time. Rowan, I don't know if you listen to the podcast, buddy, but if you do, thanks. And then I had a meeting with a couple of guys a few days ago. We were talking about it as well, my buddy Nick. So I think I'm going to try to get this thing up on Twitch right away. So if you're on Twitch, let me know. I have no idea how it works, but I didn't know how podcasting worked a couple of years ago when I started doing podcasts. And I guess many would argue that I still don't, but I think it's going to be on Twitch soon. So that's pretty rad. Throw us follows. We'd really appreciate it. We follow everybody back. I like interacting with people on there and stuff like that. Okay, that's all. Oh, yeah, and then we have a website, rememberthegamepodcast.com, blah, 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 blah. Good enough. Let's get to the talking about Donkey Kong Country. Like I said, absolutely my 10 favorite games of all time, possibly in my 5 favorite games of all time. I adore the whole series, but this is obviously where it all started, right? And I mean, and I'm not going to get too into it because I talk about it with Henry, but this game rejuvenated the Donkey Kong franchise. I mean, before this, it was all the arcade games and stuff like that, and they were fun. But this was like a whole reimagining of this series. And I mean, if you're listening to this, you know they turned into some of the greatest platformers of all time. And I love almost the entire series and franchise. All 3 of the Super Nintendo games are incredible. I'm not going to get into details on Donkey Kong 2 or Donkey Kong 3 because I would love to do episodes of this show about it. It's Donkey Kong 64, which I have an upcoming episode I want to do with somebody already pegged for it, which honestly is the only one of the games I'm kind of meh on, but it's still fine, I guess. And then there's Donkey Kong Country Returns and Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, which were for the Wii and the 3DS, and then the Wii U and the Switch, respectively. Both awesome as well. Hard as fuck. I have 200% completed Tropical Freeze, and that is amongst the 5 greatest accomplishments in my gaming career, because that game is tough. But they're so good. I adore them. Like I said, they can stand toe-to-toe with Mario, in my opinion, as far as the platforming goes. They've always felt a little heavier, I guess maybe is the word, but I like the way they feel when you're playing them. Some platformers, I feel like where they struggle is they can't quite get the physics, that's the word I'm looking for, science, the physics right. You know, like the Mario games, Mario is traditionally a very floaty jumper, and some other games, when you're playing a platformer, the character's very heavy, but at least it's consistent. And I feel like with Donkey Kong, they get the platforming aspect of it perfect. And then the music is fucking unreal, you know? Like this is one of the first episodes I've done where I had a really difficult time picking 3 songs to do. So I obviously was going to open with the intro like you guys just heard, and then I just picked my 2 favorite songs from the soundtrack. I probably lost half an hour of my day on the internet just looking up various songs from the original Donkey Kong Country. The music to me it stands the test of time as well as the graphics do. Some people think it doesn't look good by today's standards, and those people can't see. And that's coming from me, and I only have one eye. I'm blind basically in one of my eyes, and I can tell these games are gorgeous. So fuck off. The characters are great. You know, Donkey Kong, if you may or may not know, is Donkey Kong Jr., I believe, from back in the day. Cranky, who is my favorite Kong, is the original Donkey Kong from the arcade games. Diddy Kong got introduced in this one. He's rad. And then later on, they would introduce Dixie, who needs to be in Smash. # Dixie for Smash. Please get it out there. She's the best character from the Nintendo universe that's not currently in that game, and she should be. I also read the other day that the original name for Diddy Kong was going to be Dinky Kong. And then I guess the powers that be were like, yeah, we can't do that. And I can't believe anybody thought they could do that. Release a game with a little monkey with no pants on running around calling himself Dinky Kong. And that's the death of the Super Nintendo. The characters are great. The graphics are great. I love the gameplay. The fucking music is easily, for my money, the best on the Super Nintendo, with maybe the exception of F-Zero or Mega Man X. Boy, there's some fucking good music. No, Donkey Kong is right there, though. It's perfect. The music's great. Holy cow. That was about 6 minutes of me just pulling one off or rubbing one out over Donkey Kong Country. I just really love this game. I've been looking for a reason to go back and play them. You know, sometimes when you're sitting around with nothing to play and you're like, I'm big on going back to my retro games when I have nothing to play. I want to throw an old one, like comfort food. And I've been meaning to sit down and just bomb through the Donkey Kong countries forever. and haven't got around to it. And I think this will be my excuse because they're so fucking good and they're hard. You know, I mean, but I never found them like cheap hard. I was gonna say cheaply. I don't know what the correct term is, but they're difficult. But I like that. You know, in my platformer, as long as it's not like garbage cheap deaths, make them as hard as you can. You know what I mean? I love that challenge. Right up through Tropical Freeze. I know a lot of people, both online and in person, that like refuse to play the latest Donkey Kong game because it was too hard. But I think it's fucking perfect like that. Keep them hard. Keep them coming. I want more Donkey Kong games so bad. And I want SNES games on my Switch so I can play it on the go. Donkey Kong Country. It's fucking best. This is going to be a good episode. Good enough. I rambled. I did my 7 minutes of rambling. Speaking of wanting to go back and play Donkey Kong Country, what have I been playing over the last 7 days? Tetris 99, as always, because it's my absolute favorite game in the world. Dipping into Yoshi's Crafted World still. My girlfriend and I had bought it to play together, but she doesn't play a lot of video games, and as you obviously know, I do. And we just couldn't jive playing together because she would go too slow. And I was, which is fine. She's new to games, but I was like, this game is too easy to be going this slow. Like I was just getting frustrated, and then she would get frustrated that I wanted to go faster. So we've kind of split up on the game, and we're just playing it on our own separately. I'm enjoying it way more by myself. It's still not a masterpiece or anything like that, but if you've got a Switch and you're looking for something fun to dink around with, it's fun. That said, there are better platformers for a fraction of the price. I think I brought that up last week, but I'm into it, especially playing it by myself now. I'm into it better. Still grinding through Shining Force on the Genesis Classic Collection, tactical strategy, RPG, whatever you call it, Fire Emblem style. Still liking it. Gonna finish it. There is an episode upcoming on Shining Force 1 and 2, fucking for sure. And then I'm just waiting for Cuphead, because Cuphead comes out later this week, and I cannot wait. I have wanted to play that game for so long, and I don't have an Xbox One, and I don't have a PC, and I probably could have played it on my MacBook, but I don't know anything about PC and Mac gaming, and I just didn't want to deal with it. And I'm so fucking excited for that game to come to Switch. If you don't know what it is, look it up. It's an incredibly difficult action-y game set in like a 1930s cartoon-looking style, and it's I cannot wait to play. I cannot wait to play it. I've heard everyone talk about how hard it is, and I'm just like, it gets me hard thinking about how hard that game is going to be. I can't wait to play. And that's it. That's enough. 9 minutes of rambling. I'm going to shut the fuck up. This week it is all about Donkey Kong Country. This is one of the games I have wanted to talk about since I launched this podcast. Cue the music. There it is. My buddy Henry is here. We are going to have a great trip down memory lane and talk Donkey Kong Country. Originally released on November 21st, 1994. One of the best-selling Super Nintendo games of all time. One of the greatest video games of all time, in my opinion. And you're going to find out why right now, you guys. Kick back, relax. Let's talk Donkey Kong Country. Here we go. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Everyone that listens to this podcast knows about our illustrious CEO, my dog Molly. But the other silent partner behind the scenes is my wife. And let me tell you, my friends, a 17-year relationship with another person that has to talk to and live with you is a lot harder to maintain than one with a dog. We've had our ups and downs, and as you all know, a relationship isn't all sunshine and rainbows. They can be a lot of work. You get out what you put in when it comes to relationships, and talking to a therapist can be a fantastic way to put in some work. They can help you work through your issues, learn to communicate better, and even just provide you with an ear to bend when you need it. I've talked to my therapist about my relationships, especially when it came to my stand-up comedy career and how much I was away from home, and they helped me work on ways to keep my relationship strong even when I was out on the road. It turned out our relationship was actually better when I was out on the road, but that's a story for another day. And I know, right? Therapy. Who has the time these days? BetterHelp hears you, and they're making it easy. Fill out a quick form online, and they'll match you up with a therapist that suits your needs and that'll work around your schedule. You pick the meet times, and you can get your therapy fix from anywhere, over video, phone, or just chat. Become your own soulmate, whether you're looking for one or not. Visit BetterHelp.com/rememberthegame today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/rememberthegame. right, so this week, first timer on the show, fellow comedian, not quite as big a gaming nerd as most of the rest of us, but you're playing some games. That's the whole reason you're over here. Is my buddy Henry Sir. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. How are you?
I am great. I'm fucking great. I'm excited to talk about this game. This is one of the ones, and I know people listen to this, and I say that every week, but this is one of those games that, like, when I launched the podcast, I was like, fuck, I can't wait to talk Donkey Kong Country, and no one has, like, said it, and it's really pissed me off, because I'm like, this is one of the greatest, like, if you talk about the Super Nintendo, which is one of the peaks of old gaming, Donkey Kong is one of the best games on one of the best systems of all time, and no one's bringing it up.
Yeah, that's surprising. Because isn't Donkey Kong a complete staple of just video games in general?
Absolutely, he is. Yeah, and I mean, you know, because there's the original like arcade games and stuff like that,
where he's like throwing all the barrels at Mario and he's trying to get to him. That's the original, right?
Like the scoring arcade games, right? And then this one like was the first time they took like that franchise and just made it into like a platforming like video game,
right?
Not like an arcade, same couple of screens fucking over and over. And like, and that game, like you said, you just like, you've been playing it right on your Super Nintendo Classic.
Yeah, that was the first game. I kind of dabbled around with some other games I'd never played before, and I thought like, yeah, I'll give these a try. But then I was just like, I need to play Donkey Kong.
Yeah, dude,
it's just ripped through it.
Right? It's so good, man. Like when they announced the Super Nintendo Classic, I lost my mind because I love the Super Nintendo so much. And the first game was Super Mario World because that's my favorite game of all time. Yeah, that game is my absolute like comfort jam. When I'm having a bad day, I can just sit down and play through Super Mario World. But like Donkey Kong Country is probably number 2. It's so fucking good, you know, and it's harder than Super Mario World.
100%.
Which I like better because I like Super Mario World's great, but it's so easy for the most part.
Yeah,
you know,
it feels like in Donkey Kong there's a little bit more of you can go off on these little secret rooms or a little more intrigue to the levels. Where obviously I love Super Mario World too, but it kind of is just like a straight trajectory of get from point A to point B, whereas Donkey Kong there's a bit more to figure out.
Totally, yeah. Outside of looking for the odd secret exit in Super Mario World, you just know you have to run through the fucking the gates at the end. So like have you played all 3? Like have you played 2? Because I know 2 and 3 aren't on the Super Nintendo Classic.
Well, I don't know if I played 3. I remember playing 2 because that's when they have the girl
Dixie,
who uses her hair. Yeah. I like that game a lot. I don't think I ever actually played 3.
Okay.
Is it good?
It's okay. So 1 is Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, right? Which is rad. Right. And then in 2, it's Diddy and Dixie Kong.
Yeah, trying to find Donkey.
Which was cool. Like, I mean, like, I love Donkey Kong. Like, I really like that character. So I was kind of like, where the fuck is Donkey Kong? Yeah. But then Dixie was so rad that I was
Dixie's
like,
pretty sweet.
Yeah, she's awesome. Like, I want her in the new Smash Brothers game. So fucking bad. Because, like, she should be there. She's awesome. In the third one, you're Dixie Kong and Kitty Kong, who is like a big fat baby.
Yeah, I remember that just looked kind of weird to me.
It was weird. And what bothered me was I was like, okay, like I get that you want to introduce like another big guy. But it was like, why wasn't number 3 Dixie and Donkey? Like maybe Diddy gets kidnapped and you control Dixie Kong and Donkey Kong. I never understood that.
It's weird when the name's Donkey Kong and he's only really in one of them.
Yeah, he's in one. He's a pretty useless hero in the Super Nintendo era because he just keeps getting like kidnapped. But the first one is like is an absolute fucking masterpiece.
It really is.
Some people say it looks ugly today, and I don't get where they're coming from. Like, because it was, and like, if you're a tech nerd listening to this, you might yell at me if I get the wording wrong, but I believe the term for it is pre-rendered graphics.
Okay.
And that was how they did because like it looks, I mean, if you put Donkey Kong Country beside Super Mario World, it's 2 completely different styles.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right? Like Donkey Kong Country almost looks like a cartoon.
Yeah.
In a way. Like it looks very deep.
Yeah, it looked like they were made out of like clay or something.
Yeah.
I thought that was like claymation or something along those lines. But I think it looks great.
Right. To this day, I think it looks gorgeous.
Like it obviously looks dated in terms of, this wasn't made today. This was made in an entirely different decade. But even when I was younger, because I was a little kid when I played that.
Yeah.
And I never really thought about anything other than, is a video game fun? And obviously it was fun. But even then, without really knowing it, something I really appreciated about Donkey Kong was the music, the graphics, and just like the overall setting. It was so pleasant, so fun. Like you're out, you know, in whatever little world Donkey Kong's in, but the way like the sun sets and all the different colors, like I think it's a really pretty video game.
I do too. Like it really, like Super Mario World. Again, I know we're not going to keep comparing it, but like Super Mario World is cool, but you're in this weird fucking island with like, you know what I mean, and it's 2D, like it's straight up 2D.
Yeah.
And I know that Donkey Kong Country in the most basic of forms is 2D, run left to right.
Right.
You know, but it really looks like there's depth to the jungle behind you. You know what I mean? And yeah, like the water levels blow me away to this day. I think the water levels are gorgeous.
Yeah, and the music's hilarious. Just how like seductive and sensual it is.
Yeah, it's the type of music you could like.
Music.
It is like you could put it on and like sometimes when I'm doing work on my computer, like I'm sending emails or writing or something, I'll put on like I'll look up YouTube and I'll look up like calming music.
Well, you can meditate to that for sure.
And totally, right? Like, yeah, like I'm going to edit that music in, and it's like you could totally just chill out to this music. When you're having a bad day, put on the Donkey Kong underwater music.
That's just the thing I always liked about Donkey Kong. I liked about the first two I played and play third, and even the one, I know these are different consoles, but on N64 and the one that they may have, I can't remember if it was GameCube or Wii. I think it was Wii. Donkey Kong Returns, Donkey Kong Country Returns. But that's something that throughout the whole thing, just they kind of get that like ambiance to it that a lot of other video games with that 2D, like going in a straight line thing just didn't have. And I don't know, I just think that's a layer added to it that in terms of, it's already obviously like a super fun game and the characters are funny. But you add in like that kind of pleasant vibe to it. I just really liked it, man. Yeah,
it's just like it's because I'm the same as you. Like I mean, and like, how old are you, Henry?
30.
Okay, so we're close to the same age. Like growing up in like the NES, Super Nintendo, particularly those eras, like graphics were almost secondary to like just is it fun?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like especially when it comes to the original Nintendo, but the Super Nintendo as well. Like I've never been a graphics guy.
Yeah,
you know, to this day, like there's a big trend right now with games where they make a lot of like indie games, like little companies make games, and there's a big trend toward doing retro games, and all they are is like those old school graphics and that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And like I love it because I'm like, dude, then they're focused on making it fun.
Totally.
You know, and to me, Donkey Kong Country is one of the few games where like it's not that it's not fun because it's wicked fun, but I actually do pay attention to the graphics.
Yeah, exactly.
Too. And like you said, and the characters are fucking rad.
Yeah.
Like Donkey Kong, as much as I love him, is almost like the most boring character in the
100%.
game. He's got his tie and he's a big ape.
Yeah, he's just a dude. And I love him too, but like you said, you compare him to the other ones. And the way it starts off right off the bat is the intro music I love so much. And there's Cranky rocking back and forth. And then like, doesn't he like throw the barrel of fire at Donkey Kong or something?
No, like the TNT barrel like explodes.
Yeah,
and he like falls away, and then Donkey Kong's there with like the radio.
Right, that's right. And he's like waving his fist at Donkey. But all the characters were really funny. Cranky's hilarious. I thought Funky Kong was like the coolest.
Right?
I wanted to be Funky Kong,
dude.
when I was a little kid.
Okay, so that's funny because in the last Donkey Kong game that came, so the last brand new one that came out was for the Wii U. Okay, it was called Tropical Freeze. It's really fucking good. It's hard. Yeah. Like if you think the Super Nintendo ones are hard, holy fuck, but it's awesome.
I believe it.
And then they re-released it for the Switch. And when they re-released it for the Switch, they added Funky mode where you could play as Funky Kong.
Oh, nice.
And they just basically it's baby mode. Like they made it really it's way easier. Like he has more hits and he can like almost fly on a surfboard, I think, or something. I never played it as him. But yeah, same way. Like when he launched in Donkey Kong Country, every time I got to, because he would fly you around. Yeah. And every time I would get there, I would literally just go in to talk to him to see what he had to say and listen to the cool music that plays when you go see him.
100%.
And you're like, dude, you're like the Michelangelo of Donkey Kong. You're rad.
That's perfectly put. I do the same thing. I didn't even know when I was that young, like even what he was doing or what he was for. I didn't even realize that you actually can fly back and forth. I would just go and like bro out with Funky and thought it was wicked.
Yeah, he's awesome. This is the introduction of Diddy Kong, and I actually really like Diddy Kong a lot. Like I have his amiibo over there on my shelf. Like I think he's a cool character.
I like Diddy.
You know, like he's my absolutely my preferred Kong in this game.
Oh yeah,
you know,
I always preferred being Diddy over Donkey.
Right? Yeah. Like so because you can tag them in and out, and you always control the one. Yeah. And anytime I get a hold of Diddy, I use them. And then when I get to a part where there's like, because there's a couple bad guys that like Diddy struggles with, right?
Right, like the dudes on the rollerblades and stuff.
Yeah,
it's
like
kind of nice to just be able to jump on them and do the cartwheel over if you're on like a platform that falls off or something.
Yeah. And like the big fat lizards, he can't jump on their heads, but Donkey Kong can.
Yeah.
And the big blue like Arnold Schwarzenegger guys.
Yeah, yes.
Donkey Kong can hurt them, but Diddy can't even hurt them.
Yeah, exactly.
So like unless I'm in one of those instances where I need to like switch
Yeah.
out, I always play as Diddy Kong.
Yeah, same.
You know, in a game designed to be a platformer, he's so much better at like he can make higher jumps. He's faster.
Yeah.
You know, he's I love him. Like I fucking love him. And like I used to read the instruction manual to this game all the time when I was a kid. And they talk about how like so the whole story of the game, if you don't know, is Diddy was in charge of protecting Donkey Kong's bananas one night. And that's what it was. Donkey Kong went to bed and he was like, all right, party, that's like part of your training. You got to protect the bananas. And then when Donkey Kong woke up, because remember at the beginning of the game, he busts out of his house. Yeah. And if you go into the cave, the bananas are all gone. And what happened was oh goddamn, what the hell are they called? Oh, someone's going to yell at me so hard. Like not King K Rool, but like all the lizards and everything. Came and took all the bananas and they stuffed Diddy in a barrel and threw him away. And that's how you find Diddy in a barrel and you break him out. Know that. Yeah, and then the quest is for you and Diddy to go get your bananas back from the lizards. So like I don't know. I always just got a kick out of that. I was like, so this is cool. He's like a sidekick to Donkey Kong.
Yeah, I never knew that at all. I kind of just assumed he was his little buddy that just tags along with him.
Yeah,
and so that was just in like the book that comes with the video.
Yeah, like in the instruction manual. Yeah.
Man, I wish I knew that.
And so that explains it. And then also, if you didn't know, Cranky is the Donkey Kong from the arcade games.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so like remember, like Donkey Kong would throw the barrels at Mario.
Yeah,
and how he always talks about how back in my day I would have beat this game in 5 minutes and stuff like that because he's the original Donkey Kong and now he's an old man. Yeah, I love that. He to me like Funky is rad. Yeah, but Cranky is the funniest character in the game.
Oh, he's the funniest for sure.
Oh fuck! Whenever you
crotchety old man waving his cane at everybody,
he like hits you.
Donkey. Yeah.
Whenever you go to his like house, you can get like tips from him.
Yeah,
and he will give you hints, but then he also like insults you. It talks about how like back in his day he needed one life to do this, and then he hits them with his walking stick and stuff.
Talks so much shit. I had no idea. That's actually really cool. Like I just assumed it was all just they're just here and there's not much of a backstory.
Yeah, right.
Is there any story for Candy?
I think she's just Donkey Kong's girlfriend.
Just is.
And I actually I because I don't know how old I was when I played this game. Probably like 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And like I kind of had a crush on her, but I didn't know why.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You're
100%.
like, and like now it's like, now she's, for a monkey especially, she's pretty fucking hot. But she's like the lamest character. Like in the future ones, you can go to her and like play some like little, she's a little cooler. But like in the first one, she just saves your game.
Yeah, she just blows kisses at you and gets all seductive and save games and
like she cheats on Donkey Kong with Diddy Kong, blowing kisses at him and stuff, which is fucking weird.
Yeah, a little loyalty.
But yeah, okay, so that's something I actually don't. It's not that I don't like about it, but I mean, because it was the style at the time. I hate that you have to get to her to save.
Yeah,
and like when you play it on the Super Nintendo Classic or anything, you can save anytime you want. Like just.
Oh really?
Oh, you didn't know that?
I didn't know.
Oh yeah, dude. Oh yeah, hit reset. And then don't turn it off. Just hit reset.
Really?
And it'll take you back to the title screen. But it's called save states. And then your game is like sitting there in frozen time. And you can just save it. And then when you go back in, you can click on that. So you could literally save mid-level if you want.
Yeah, see, I had no idea about that. I've wondered with a few of the games on that because I'm like, I need to go. But I've invested all this time and I have to find a way to save.
Like, there are traditionalists that would insist that, that's how you fucking play it.
Yeah.
Because that's how it used to be, right? You tell mom, like, I can't turn it off. I haven't saved. And then you'd have like, I don't know about you, but like there were so many times I would leave our Super Nintendo on all day. Like when I go to school, I would just put something in front of the light so my mom couldn't tell and then turn the TV off. Yeah. Cause I was like, I haven't saved.
I think I was scared about it getting overheated.
Oh, I
don't
was
know
too.
if that was a real thing or not.
No.
I just never did it.
No, it scared me too. But I was like, I'm not losing my file. Fuck this.
Yeah,
so.
I had 3 older brothers I had to worry about. So if I was the one that busted the Super Nintendo, I would have got my ass busted.
That always. I mean, it's hard. It's easy to criticize it now because in today's games they literally save for you like every 20 seconds.
Yeah.
But that used to frustrate me a little bit because she was always near the end of a world.
Yeah.
And so you'd beat a boss, move on, and then have to grind through a world. And in the first couple worlds, it was easy, but like that game gets fucking vicious.
Yeah, man. I was telling you, I think it might just be the older I've gotten, the more I've come to overthink everything. Because when I was little, that game was so much easier. Yeah. So much like. I had a couple friends over, and the first time I like christened my Super Nintendo, we were all playing it, and we were all terrible. Like one of our friends would literally have to be like, "You can't play anymore. We don't have enough lives." And all of us were just like, what should just be you have to jump over a pit onto another like whatever platform. We just were just like overthinking, like, okay, how do I time this? And just fall right into the pit.
Yeah.
It was pathetic. I had so many game overs. And if I had like one game over as a kid, I'd be like, oh, that's kind of embarrassing. But this was like, I would need like 3 tries to finish like the third world.
Yeah, dude. It's like, I mean, yeah, once you get going a little bit, once the minecarts enter the picture.
And that's when it gets so good.
That's when shit starts to get hairy. But those minecart levels are so fun.
So fun.
Like, and they're just, sometimes they make you so fucking angry.
So angry.
Like, and there's a couple of jumps in them, like, especially, I can't remember if it's in the first minecart one, but I know there's a couple of jumps. There's one, I'll never, you're going up a really steep incline.
Right.
And you have to jump across a hole. And you literally need to hit that jump at, like, the last second.
Yeah.
Or you won't make it. It doesn't matter if you're Diddy or Donkey. You can't run and jump at it.
Yeah.
You're just all at the hands of that fucking cart. And the only way to get good at it is to just practice.
What really frustrated me is when you had, like, say, on the you have to jump, and then there's the bottom tracks, and then the weird little floating track above it, but it's a really hard one to time. And if you get to the top one, you'll get like the 10 bananas, but if you got on the bottom one, you'd get that extra life.
Yeah.
So you would obsess over that and lose 4 lives just to get that one.
To get the one, yeah.
And then you end up getting it. You're like, I lost 3 lives to get this.
Well, and in this one, there wasn't it's so in Donkey Kong 2 and then in 3 there was tons. I can't remember everything about it, but I know that in the future ones there were like DK coins that you had to collect at each level, right? If you wanted to 100% the game, right?
Yeah, that was in the second one.
Whereas in this one there wasn't. You know, like it was just beat the game. It was just your afterlife. Like you could collect the Kong letters in this one,
right?
But all they did was give you an extra life, I think.
Yeah, because there still is enough stuff. It's mainly the Kong letters, and then I would imagine those like golden animal things,
right?
Because you can beat the game and it only be like 58% done. That's what happened to me.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Because you can get all the like bonus, all this I think to 100% it, you have to find all the bonus rooms.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. Some of those are fucking hard to find.
Yeah. Too, that's what makes it fun too, though. You can kind of like rip through it, but then realize like, all right, I beat it, but there's still like I think I was legitimately under 60% when I beat it. So I was like, there's almost half a game to still play. Yeah. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. Yeah. And the bonus levels where you get to play as the animals are rad.
Oh, those are so sweet.
There's so much fun. Which one's your favorite animal?
What's the rhino's name again?
I don't remember any of their names.
Stampy, right?
That's
Simpsons.
That's the Simpsons. Because that's where I was gonna go too.
Really? But then I was like, no, that's the elephant in the Simpsons. Not even the right animal.
I don't remember any of their names, but because there's the rhino.
I gotta look this
There's
up.
the rhino. There's the frog. There's the ostrich. There's
the dolphin.
The dolphin or the sword. I think he's a swordfish. Well, because he's got that long nose that he spears into people, but he does look like a dolphin. Anyway, the fish. And then there's that fucking parrot that you use for like one level.
Oh yeah, but all he does is like have the light, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's
Rambi.
He's a shit.
That's
Rambi. That's it. Yeah.
I liked him the most just because you could just do the most damage with him. Like the ostrich was a little spastic, kind of made me nervous.
Yeah.
The whatever shark, dolphin, swordfish thing. Yeah, you're right. It is a swordfish. I was thinking you meant seahorse, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" Yeah, you're right. It's a swordfish, and he's pretty sweet too.
He's pretty handy, man. Underwater,
those water ones are tough.
They are tough. Like he literally cuts the difficulty of the underwater ones in half. Because not only can you control him, but he can actually hurt bad guys. Yeah. Right? You can't attack when the other two and then I hate the frog. I fucking hate him. He's a cool looking animal, but I find him hard to use.
He's very hard to use. I only liked him because of how he looked. And yeah, he wasn't like there's those ones where it almost looks like you're in like ancient Roman temples or something, and you get the frog for some reason, which I never felt like he was a good fit. Like sometimes you get Rambi, sometimes you get the frog.
Yeah.
But he was okay. He was just tough to control.
He was really tough to control. But in some of those temple ones, you could like jump up. Like that's some of the secrets are like up above.
Right.
And you need him to get up there.
Yeah.
But I fucking hate that frog. But I love the bonus levels when you got to just control the animal.
Yeah, exactly.
And just go to town and collect a bunch of the little animals. Yeah, that was I forgot about those.
And it's all great because the music's always so like triumphant and uplifting. And it's like I know I keep focusing on, but something I just love so much about Donkey Kong is all the colors, like those shades of like pink and like violet and purple, and it just looks cool. But then it's just get your chance and get all your extra lives. And as a little kid to be like, oh my god, I'm a rhino, you start losing your mind.
Yeah. And you're right, like with the colors and stuff, that's one of the things this game did that I don't remember a lot of games before this doing this well, is they really shift the mood depending on the level you're in. Because like if the sun is up, like in the first couple levels and you're just in the jungle, then you're like, this is pretty rad.
Yeah.
But then you go to those temples and it does feel like an old Aztec fucking temple. The underwater ones are beautiful. I love the factory levels. Near the end. I love the music and stuff in those factory levels. There's like all the like caverns you go into where you really feel like you're in like a dark underground cavern.
Yeah, 100%.
And then they even make it like rain sometimes when you're up in the jungle.
And it looks so cool in the rain episodes where you throw a TNT barrel and the explosion happens.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it just looks awesome.
Like it looks like it lights up the jungle for a second. And then there's the fucking snow.
Yeah.
Level. And
I didn't like that.
Nothing. I mean, it looks great.
Yeah. I mean, just in terms of it took me 3 days to beat 2 levels. I hated it, but it looked awesome and the levels are fun.
They are. But like to this day, the level that intimidates me the most in that game is it's either the first or second level in the winter world and you have to do all the barrels where you're shooting from barrel to barrel to barrel.
Yeah.
And near the end, it's like a complete whiteout blizzard.
Yeah.
And it is so hard to just focus on your barrel because you have all this fucking snow everywhere. That drives me. Yeah. I'm not. But the thing is like the game, and that's the design. That's the sign that the game is designed well. Is it's so frustratingly hard.
Exactly.
But you're still having fun.
Exactly.
You don't want to just throw your controller. You know.
Yeah, I have definitely played those games where I get to a point I'm like, all right, this is tough. I'm like, this isn't even fun though. So why am I doing it? Like, I'm not a huge gamer. Like, I do enjoy a good video game, but I'm not as like
nerdy as me.
Well, I'd say well read in the video game art.
That's very nice. I like that.
Yeah, like this was one of those ones where I've just shot myself into the bottom of the screen where you die like 5 times in a row. I'm like, I'm still for some reason enjoying myself.
Yeah, it just has this like where you're like, one more time. Like one more time. Yeah, it's I love it, man. I fucking admittedly I don't find this game as hard as I used to. Yeah. But this is like I don't consider myself a really good gamer. I love games, but I'm not that good. Okay. But like 16-bit platforming games like this, Mario, Yoshi's Island, you and I were talking about, those are like, that's my fucking wheelhouse. Yeah. Like those are my favorite games. And this is absolutely like unquestionably in like my 10 favorite games of all time. Yeah. And it's like, it doesn't matter how angry I get at it, I have to keep playing. You know?
Well, it's got a bit of everything, like we've touched on already, like the look of it, the music of it, the different settings, be it the water levels, the snow levels, the underground like caravan kind of stuff, or cavern rather, and then like they even have those levels where it's kind of like the Ewok village in Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like those like tree houses. They just cover so much ground. Then just this bizarre, random pirate theme to it. And then, it's just a cool game.
It is, yeah. It's funny too because, like, I mean, obviously, when everyone thinks of Nintendo, they think of Mario, right? Yeah. And Mario has all the different worlds. Like, you go to like Dark Worlds, you go underground, you go ice, fucking water, all that stuff. But like, I don't think. I mean, maybe in some of the 3D Mario games, but outside of that, like Mario, the franchise has never captured the feel of going to different climates like the Donkey Kong games do. Right. You know what I mean? Like you said, it just every 3 or 4 levels it feels like this game completely changes it up and it feels like a whole different game. Oh yeah, that's another thing. When you're in like the caves, the echo of the sound effects and stuff like that. And Super Mario World does that too, but I fucking love like it's those little things. Totally. I just really appreciate like when they put that heart in.
Snakes when they're coming out of those weird little barrels, they just keep popping out. Yeah. Like that just adds a whole other layer to it.
And then like they find a way they constantly change up the gameplay, and it's not just the left to right and then the swimming. There's the barrel shooting. Yep. There's the mine carts. There's the fucking the one where Squawks is following you around with the light. There's ones where you have to keep getting to these like trigger barrels. Yeah, you remember where like when the light is on these bad guys, they go all docile, but then when the light goes off, they're impossible to get around.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you're literally running to the next light barrel.
And then there are those ones that are like the I don't know what you'd call them. They almost look like those like floating treadmills on those lines, and it has like 3 lights. Goes from like green to red, then you have to get on to the next one.
Yeah, because they're gonna fall. Yeah. There's that, or there's the ones where you have to like. Isn't there one where you have to keep? I can't remember if this is the first Donkey Kong. Where you have to keep getting like oil. To keep it on the tracks, and if you run out of oil, it falls off. Yeah. No, that's really ingenious.
Yeah, it's really clever. You know? It's really clever to ultimately you're doing the same thing. You're trying to get from this side of the level to the other side, but you've mixed it up. Yeah, of how to get there in so many cool ways.
Yeah, they keep throwing those curveballs in, and then by the time they go back to just another platforming level, it's in a different climate, and so it feels different.
Did Yoshi's Island come out after Donkey Kong?
Yeah.
I feel like it was kind of influenced by it.
I'm pretty confident. nerds are gonna yell at me if I'm wrong, but I want to say that the first Donkey Kong Country came out well before Yoshi's Island. Yoshi's Island was like a later into the Super Nintendo's lifespan game.
I'm referring to Google.
Like that, like, yeah, he's looking it up. Like that right there to me is like, I mean, I always argue on here why the Super Nintendo is the greatest system of all time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, just they have Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country, Yoshi's Island, like those three games. And I'm not even talking about the RPGs. I'm not talking Legend of Zelda, some of the sports games. Just those three games are masterpieces.
Yeah, Donkey Kong was out a year before Yoshi's Island. And you're right, I just played and finished Yoshi's Island for the first time, and that game is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, man.
Honestly, like, the talks I've had with you at the shows, because, like, I mean, like I said off the top, like, Henry and I are both comics, and if you've never done stand-up comedy, a lot of stand-up comedy is sitting around at bars waiting to go up and look like an asshole for 5 minutes, and we've been talking about some of these games, and I was just like, I've played all those games a trillion times, and just the conversation with you and you talking about how, because you haven't played them in a long time, and then refiring it up and playing these games, and now I want to fucking replay Donkey Kong Country and replay Yoshi's Island.
They're such good games, and a thing I personally have always liked about video games, it's not to be like it has to be too simple, but I appreciate, obviously there's the nostalgia factor to it, but I really appreciate just like an innocent, it's all just about the fun kind of game. Like when I go over to friends' houses, like as we got older and like different PlayStations were coming out and they'd have the different like shoot 'em up games, like whatever, and all the movies you'd have to watch them too, which are cool and I appreciate that and respect it, but I'm much more into like, I just want to play it. I want to have fun with it. And those games are just so immediate and there is enough of a storyline. And there's this arc you're following, but it's just through and through, just go fun the whole time. That's what I love out of video games.
Me too, man. And I love most games, and I play tons of those. The movie, like especially with the PS4 and the Xbox One, like they've become such cinematic experiences, and they're cool. Like I enjoy them
for sure.
But I've always been a Mario fanboy, like through and through. And Mario is amongst the worst storytelling in video games. It's this like, oh, this is Big Lizard kidnapped the princess again, and Mario's gonna go get her. Like, and that's it. But it's like, because it doesn't need a story. When a game is just fun, it's just fun. And that's one of the reasons I love the Super Nintendo so much, is because of that. And it's just like, just make the game fun.
Exactly.
I don't care, you know.
Exactly.
And then the fact that Donkey Kong does go out of its way to add these little bits of like really starting to establish it as its own world with its own characters and stuff, I just think adds another layer to the awesomeness that is
100%.
fucking Donkey Kong Country. And the factory. I fucking love the factory. I love the factory levels. I'm going to put that music in. Well, I feel great. Henry, before we score it, have you got any last thoughts on Donkey Kong Country? It's perfect.
Just a great overall game. I've liked Donkey Kong from start to finish. I love the N64 game. I love that game I played for Wii. I love Donkey Kong 2. I know I didn't play the third one. But all that being said, I don't think... Obviously, in a lot of, I guess, let's call them like franchises or series, if you will, it's really tough to beat the original. But there have been those ones where I'm like, oh no, the second one's I find a lot more enjoyable. It's pretty cool when you talk about how good all the sequels are or whatever, but you can't top the first one. I don't think.
I see, and it's funny because a lot of people feel like Donkey Kong Country 2 is the dominant of those three, and I'm like, I mean, maybe it's because I have so much nostalgia for the first one. But I'm like, to me, it's 1, 2, 3, but it's barely. It's like fucking 9.9, 9.8, 9.7. Like, they're all great.
Totally, because it's not a knock at all to either one to be like the second's better than the first better than the second. They're both damn good games.
Yeah. It's just that, like, this is the only one you get to play as Donkey Kong, god damn it.
Yeah.
Which I still don't
Donkey
get.
Kong Country.
Whatever.
Mario.
Henry, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you score Donkey Kong Country?
I mean... I'm trying to think of what I would... So a 10 would have to obviously be like a flawless game. Have you ever given a 10 on this show?
I gave... so Super Mario World was episode 1. Yeah. And I did it on purpose because it's my favorite game. I gave it a 10, and I said I will never give another 10.
Respect.
Doesn't mean you can't. Other people have. I just like...
I don't feel comfortable giving something a 10 because I'm not well read enough, like I said.
No, that's
You can't like read one book and be like, this is the best book of all time.
Right.
I'd give it a 9.
Yeah, I'll go like a 9.5. It's fucking. I mean, anyone listening to this has played it, I'm sure. This is like, to me, if you had to list off like 20 games that everyone has played,
Yeah.
Donkey Kong Country is probably going to be on your like everyone played Donkey Kong Country. There was a point where they were packaging it with Super Nintendos.
Yeah, man.
Like you could buy the Super Nintendo with Donkey Kong Country, and that's unheard of. That it didn't just come with one of their games. You know what I mean? Like
Donkey Kong is huge, man.
Oh, it's a great game. Go play it if by some incredible chance you haven't. It's available on like every virtual console there is. You can fucking find it everywhere. It's on the Super Nintendo Classic. And dude, like I was really excited to do this one with you because I was like, I know you're not quite as big a gaming nerd as like me and most of the guys. And I was like, this is like I just want to talk to someone that hasn't played a game in a while. That's just like, dude, this game's just lots of fun.
So much fun.
And that's what you did. Plug your comedy album. It'll be up soon, right?
Yeah. Next, I don't have the exact date, but mid-April, my first comedy album called Chalant is going to be out. So yeah, it'll be out on all the different platforms, whatever. If you want to give that a listen, your boy would certainly appreciate it.
Check it out. It's Henry Sir Chalant, classiest name of a comedy album possibly ever. And come and see Henry and I tell jokes all over Edmonton. We'd really appreciate it. Well, on some shows, other shows don't come to. Good enough, dude. Thank you very much for doing this. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me, buddy.
And that's going to do it for this week's episode. Henry, thank you for coming over. All of you, thank you so much for listening. That music you just heard on the way out is that super cool, calming music from the underwater levels that we talked about earlier. That's just beautiful. What a great episode about a fucking phenomenal video game. If you haven't played Donkey Kong Country, what's wrong with you? Find a way to play it. It's on all kinds of stuff. It is an absolute masterpiece. It's the best. It's the fucking best. And Dixie for Smash. Hashtag Dixie for Smash. And I know she's not in this one. Shut the fuck up. You guys, listen. Thank you so much for listening. If you had a great time listening to this episode, if you like any of our old episodes, if you like the show, if you like me, please leave us a good review. It means the world to me when we see them. I don't know exactly what they accomplish, but I do know that I'm supposed to be asking for them based on the basic rules of podcasting. So if you're enjoying the show, I'd really appreciate it if you threw me a little bit of love. To everyone that has, thank you so much. We're going to keep this thing onward and upward. I've got about 2 months worth of episodes in the bank, so you won't be missing any weeks. We got some killer episodes coming up, going to the Xbox, we're going to GameCube, we're going back to the NES and everything in between. And I just love talking video games, and I like playing video games. I just really like video games, and I'm glad that you guys like them too. Good enough. Henry, thanks for doing this. Don't forget to check out Henry's comedy album, Chalant. It's available on everything soon. I don't know if you'll remember to check it out. If you're listening to this like months from now and you're just catching up on old episodes, his album's probably out by now, so check it out. That'd be cool. And if you are new to the show, you guys, this is episode 42. We have 41 episodes in the bank with some phenomenal games in there. The Chrono Trigger's in there, Super Mario World, Final Fantasy VI is in there. Grand Theft Auto Vice City, WWF No Mercy, Super Mario Kart, Mega Man 2. It goes on and on and on. Go back, check out some old episodes. That'd be great. It means a lot to me when I see people going back. I keep saying everything means a lot to me. I'm rambling. Good enough. My dog's sitting here staring at me for a walk, so I'm going to shut up. Thanks for listening. We'll be back in 7 days with another episode of Remember the Game. Until then, go play some video games. I hope you enjoy Cuphead when it comes out if you're a Switch nerd like me, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Take it easy. Cheers.